It is 10 o'clock at night. The house is finally quiet, and you are standing outside your 2-year-old's bedroom door, back pressed against the wall, holding your breath, afraid to move because if the floorboard creaks, they will hear it, and the whole thing starts over again. The crying, the calling your name, the arms reaching up, the face that looks at you like you are the only safe thing in the entire universe. And tonight, for the 100th night in a row, you just needed them to sleep. You needed 5 minutes that belonged to you. And instead, you are standing in the hallway at 10 p.m. doing the math in your head, calculating how many hours of sleep you will get if they fall asleep right now, this exact second, knowing they probably won't. If this is your life right now, this video is for you. Not because I am going to tell you it gets easier, although it does, but because I am going to tell you what is actually happening inside your child's brain at this exact moment. And when you understand it, not just intellectually, but in your bones, something shifts. The guilt lifts a little. The frustration makes sense. And you stop fighting a biology you cannot win against and start working with it instead. Most parents assume that a 2-year-old who refuses to sleep alone is being manipulative, that the child knows exactly what they are doing, that they have figured out the system and are working it. Some parents have been told to just let them cry it out. Others have been told they are creating a bad habit, that they are spoiling their child, that if they keep going in there every time the child calls for them, they will never sleep alone. Not at 2, not at 5, not ever. Here is what the neuroscience actually says. Your 2-year-old is not manipulating you. They are not spoiled. They are not defiant. They are experiencing something that, from the inside of their developing nervous system, feels indistinguishable from genuine danger. And the reason they call for you is not because they have learned to control you. It is because their brain has not yet developed the capacity to do anything else. Let me explain what is happening structurally. The human brain is not born complete. It is born with a blueprint that requires years, sometimes decades, of experience and maturation to fully build out. The part of the brain responsible for logic, for reassurance, for the ability to say to yourself, I am safe. This darkness is not dangerous. I have been alone before and nothing bad happened. That part is called the prefrontal cortex. In a 2-year-old, that structure is barely online. It will not be fully developed until your child is somewhere between 25 and 28 years old. What is very much online at age 2 is the amygdala. The amygdala is the brain's threat detection system. It is ancient, evolutionarily speaking. It is fast. It does not deliberate. It scans the environment for signs of danger, and when it detects them, it fires. And here is the critical thing you need to understand. The amygdala does not distinguish between real danger and perceived danger. It does not care that you are in the next room. It does not care that the house is locked. It does not care that there are no predators in your neighborhood. What it detects is this: I am small, I am alone, and the person my nervous system is wired to stay close to for survival is not here. That is the signal. And to the amygdala of a 2-year-old, that signal is the same signal as danger. I want to pause here and ask you something, because I think this is one of those questions a lot of parents are sitting with and maybe haven't said out loud. When your child cries for you at night, what is your first instinct? Is it to go to them immediately? Is it to wait it out and see if they settle? Is it somewhere complicated in between? Tell me in the comments. There is no wrong answer, and I genuinely want to know where you are. Because this community is full of parents who are navigating this exact thing right now. And your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear tonight. So here is the translation. When your toddler stands in their crib or at their bedroom door, crying and calling your name at 11 p.m., what they are not saying is, "I know you're tired and I don't care." What they are saying, in the only language their nervous system has access to, is, "My alarm system went off, and I need the one thing that turns it off. You." Your presence is not a reward they have learned to demand. Your presence is the co-regulation they are biologically dependent on. Co-regulation is the process by which one nervous system, specifically yours, helps calm another nervous system, specifically your child's, because that smaller, newer nervous system does not yet have the hardware to do it alone. This is not a parenting philosophy. This is physiology. Developmental neuroscientist Alan Shore has spent decades documenting how the right hemisphere of the caregiver's brain communicates directly with the right hemisphere of the infant and toddler's brain, transmitting cues of safety and regulation through voice, through eye contact, through physical proximity. When you go to your child at night, you are not teaching them that crying gets them what they want. You are completing a circuit that their brain cannot complete without you. The idea that responding to a distressed toddler creates dependency is like saying that responding to someone who is cold by giving them a blanket will make them unable to regulate their temperature for life. The dependency is not pathological. It is developmentally appropriate. It is, in fact, exactly what is supposed to happen at this age. Now I want to address something that comes up constantly in conversations about toddler sleep, because I know it is running in the background for a lot of you watching this. The cry it out debate. I am not here to tell you that any parent who has ever used a graduated extinction method is a bad parent. Parenting decisions are made under conditions of profound exhaustion and real constraint, and the last thing any parent needs is more judgment. What I can tell you is what the research shows, not about whether sleep training works, because in many studies it does produce faster independent sleep, but about what is happening neurologically when a toddler cries without response. Stress hormones, cortisol specifically, spike in both the child and the caregiver during these episodes. In studies that measured cortisol levels in babies after extinction sleep training, including babies who stopped audibly crying and appeared to have learned to self-soothe, cortisol levels remained elevated even when the behavioral distress had stopped. The baby had learned to stop signaling. That is not the same thing as feeling safe. This distinction matters because the goal is not a baby who stops crying at night. The goal is a child who, over time, and with the scaffolding of enough felt safety, develops the internal architecture to tolerate separateness and to eventually, genuinely, feel okay alone. That development takes time. And it is not a failure of your parenting that it is taking time. It is biology being biology. So what do you actually do with this information at 10 p.m. when you have been in and out of that room 4 times and you have work in the morning and your own nervous system is running on empty? This is the part where I want to introduce you to something that has genuinely helped thousands of parents in this exact position, and it is called Am I a Good Parent? A short, honest, science-based ebook written specifically for the parent who is doing everything right and still feels like they are getting it wrong. This book was written for the parent who reads it at 10 p.m., after the kids are finally asleep, glass of water in hand, wondering if they handled today the right way. For the mom who said something she regretted and replayed it 3 times before bed. For the dad who doesn't know how to connect with a toddler who only wants their mother. For the caregiver who is doing their absolute best with tools that were never given to them. It was written, in short, for every imperfect parent, which is to say, for all of us. What makes this book different is that it is built around a quiz, a real assessment grounded in decades of research by developmental psychologists, attachment theorists, and neuroscientists that functions not as a judgment, but as a map. It shows you your natural tendencies clearly, not to shame you, but to give you the specific, small adjustments that compound over time into a fundamentally different relationship with your child. Not perfect parenting, better parenting. Your parenting, made more intentional. The link to Am I a Good Parent is in the description below this video. If tonight has felt heavy, this is for you. Back to what matters most right now. Your child is not broken. The nights are not going to last forever. The research on secure attachment is consistent and clear on this. Children who have their distress reliably responded to in the early years do not become clingy, dependent, or unable to function independently. They become the opposite. Longitudinal studies show that toddlers who experience consistent emotional responsiveness from caregivers develop stronger self-regulation by school age, more resilience in the face of stress, better relationships with peers, and, paradoxically, greater capacity for independence. The secure base creates the explorer. When a child knows, in their nervous system, not just intellectually, but in the felt sense, that the person they need will come, they gradually need to check in less. The confidence to separate is built not by forcing separation early, but by making return to connection so reliable that separation becomes possible. I want to say something directly to the parent watching this right now, who has been carrying shame about the nights, about how long it is taking, about still feeding to sleep or lying down with them or bringing them into your bed because it was the only way anyone got any rest. You have not made a mistake. You have been reading your child's nervous system correctly and responding to what you found there. The translation you needed was the science to confirm what your instincts already knew, that your child needed you, that you showing up mattered, that the seemingly endless, exhausting, invisible labor of nighttime parenting is doing something real inside a brain that will carry the traces of it for a lifetime. If you want to keep going deeper into what your toddler's most confusing and overwhelming behaviors are actually communicating, this channel is built for exactly that. Every video here is a translation, a way of taking something that looks like chaos or defiance or regression and showing you the developmental logic underneath it. The neuroscience that makes the behavior not just understandable, but almost inevitable given how the brain grows. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and go watch the video on toddler tantrums next, because what happens in the brain during a full meltdown is one of the most important things any parent of a 2-year-old can understand. You don't have to survive this phase guessing. The science is here, and so are we.